From having their African descent on the line to a potentially bloody fight in the works already, here's why fans are desperate to see Adesanya vs. Plessis. I've got to start with how the beef began, which started when Plessis called himself the African fighter in the UFC, setting Adesanya on fire. He considered it a big insult to African-born champs living outside the continent, not holding back his feelings about it. He went all out on his YouTube channel, ranting about Dricus and questioning his right to define his African identity. It got intense, real quick, as Izzy went on to call Dricus a product of colonization. Stillknox explained he never claimed to be more African than others, but he's just a proud South African who still lives in Africa. It seems like Israel and others didn't get the full story, misinterpreted his words, and accused him of disrespecting fighters from the African diaspora. Plessis didn't want race to be the selling point for the fight, simply wanting to highlight he's an African fighter living in Africa, but he's pointing fingers at Adesanya, saying he's the one who brought race into the whole conversation. Izzy just wanted to get his hands on Plessis at this point, but had to wait a little longer. As Stillknox went on to face Whitaker, a fight had some huge title implications, with the winner getting a shot at Adesanya's belt. We thought Plessis would be Israel's next rival due to their African heritage feud, but UFC made the decision for Dricus to face Whitaker, who also deserved the opportunity, having taken down the entire middleweight division. The UFC's decision had fans and pros raising their eyebrows, especially Chael Sonnen, who didn't hold back, calling Dricus the underdog and questioning the matchmaking choices. Sonnen believed a Dricus vs. Israel showdown made more sense, as Adesanya had his mind made up. He'd faced nobody else until he took on Plessis, even if Plessis lost against Whitaker. The Izzy vs. Plessis fight could have happened earlier, as Stillknox revealed Israel wanted it too, but he chose the path of a true martial artist. Cause when the Whitaker fight came knocking, he jumped on it without hesitation. Because for Plessis, being a fighter means facing all challenges, regardless of the order. He's gunning to be the best in the world, with no shortcuts or ducking opponents. And in order to prove that, he had to take down one of the greatest middleweights. Many thought Whitaker would dominate, as he'd been crushing his opponents, one by one, but Plessis destroyed the Reaper. Round 1 was an explosive start, as Whitaker came out swinging, landing a high kick and following it up with some brutal low kicks. He was relentless, throwing jabs and hooks, trying to take control. Stillknox wasn't backing down, and he fired back with a combination that just missed its mark. Whitaker kept pressing forward, hitting Plessis with a double jab. But Dricus was tough, and he responded with his own low kick. Then came a pivotal moment, as the Reaper clinched with Stillknox, but Dricus tripped him off a headlock, gaining the advantage. He ended up on top in Whitaker's guard and unleashed some ground and pound with one hard elbow opening up a cut on Whitaker. Dricus went for a Dark's choke and then continued with the strikes, giving him round 1. Round 2 was an absolute roller coaster. Whitaker stepped in with a powerful 1-2 combo, but Dricus fired back with those punishing low kicks. Plessis finally found his rhythm, and his punches were thunderous. Whitaker tried to retaliate with a low kick and a short left, but Dricus caught him on the way in and dropped him to the canvas. It was an explosive moment. Dricus chased Whitaker, landing bomb after bomb until the referee had no choice but to wave it off, giving a TKO victory for Plessis at 2 minutes 23 seconds of round 2, which no one saw coming, except for Izzy, who stepped in the octagon after the match and didn't waste time getting into the South African's face. Right as Plessis was celebrating with Joe Rogan, he was told to turn around, not even 30 seconds into his victory, and there was a furious Izzy standing. Izzy got the mic, firing back at Dricus's claims of being the real African, calling him his African brother while throwing the N-word constantly. It was an intense verbal battle, and Dricus wasn't having any of it. He rejected the idea of brotherhood, and that's when Adesanya challenged him to a DNA test to settle their origins. The tension was through the roof, and Plessis eventually walked away, while Izzy kept on taunting him on the mic, not even getting the chance to celebrate the biggest victory of his career. Dricus wasn't too thrilled with Israel bringing race into the feud, especially on the stage where he clearly made Plessis uncomfortable, throwing the N-word on his face aggressively. It wasn't taken well by some of the MMA community, claiming these were WWE antics that didn't belong in the octagon. Dricus slammed him for it, saying it was disgusting, and it took a step backward in the world of sports. Dricus believes a champion should set a better example. Still, he's not backing down, and he's determined to take the belt back home to Africa, which might not be this year, as the fight at UFC 293 in Sydney on September 10th is off, with Izzy extra furious because Dricus turned down the fight. Adesanya didn't hold back and went off on Plessis in a video he shared on social media, calling him all sorts of names and saying he wasn't taking the fight because his foot was sore. Israel compared it to his own knee injury, saying he still showed up like a true champion. He's sick of fighters talking about fighting anyone, anywhere, anytime, but not backing it up, claiming he and Alex Volkanovski are cut from a different cloth. Well, even though Plessis is out, Adesanya is still ready to fight in Sydney, calling out Sean Strickland as the replacement. Izzy doesn't care who's standing in front of him. He's ready to show his skills and defend that middleweight title, and then move up back to the light heavyweight to be the double champ. It looks like Adesanya versus Strickland is in the works for UFC 293, but nothing is set in stone yet, making us wonder, what would happen if Plessis and Izzy fought? Izzy is all about quick and precise striking that lands him some brutal knockouts. His takedown defense and footwork are top-notch, making him a real pain to take down. His striking style is pure artistry, as he's not about flashy moves but rather the subtle tricks that make him an enigma in the octagon. With a unique shoulder feint, he lures opponents into making mistakes, while his pressure fighting and shot selection keep rivals on their toes, never knowing what's coming next. It's not just about the techniques he throws, but how he sets them up and reads his opponents like a book, which helped him destroy Whitaker. Dricus got some solid skills up his sleeve too, with his abilities striking, grappling, and the submission game on point. He's also as tough as nails, and taking him down won't be a piece of cake. But then again, Izzy will try to keep the fight off the ground, no matter what happens. If these two go head-to-head, it's gonna be a striking showdown. Izzy's striking skills are legendary, and he's a master at landing those precise hits from a distance. Dricus might try to bring the fight to the ground, using his grappling skills to his advantage. But Adesanya's got some mad takedown defense, and he's not easy to drag down. Even if the fight does hit the ground, Israel has a solid submission defense to fend off any attempts. The key for Adesanya would be to use his striking game to keep Plessis at bay, using his fancy footwork to dodge any big strikes coming his way. Then deliver some serious blows of his own, while Plessis needs to rely on his toughness and durability to weather Izzy's storm, trying to find openings to land his strikes. Izzy might be the favorite, but Dricus has proven he's got what it takes, because not everyone can defeat the greatest middleweight in Robert Whitaker. Adesanya has big plans for Plessis if they meet in the octagon, talking about punishing him and even saying he'd even torture him, while Dricus is confident he can knock Izzy out just like he did with Whitaker, believing it won't even be a fight once he gets his hands on Israel. Will Adesanya keep his throne with a knockout or TKO victory? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. This potential matchup is going to be a dogfight. So from a potentially bloody fight in the works already, to having their African descent on the line, that's why fans are desperate to see Adesanya versus Plessis.